Rebellions are built on hope.
That's right. That's an excellent one.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the temple, to the Jedi Temple. It's not the name of the show. Another happy landing as we land here today. Tanner, the first ever permanent guest on a show on Movie Meals. Speaking of Movie Meals, guys, look at this merch. This merch is comfy. Go get some. The link is in the description. It is amazing. I just ordered even more because I'm obsessed with my own merch. Go get some. Thank you to our patrons. Those names will flash on the screen. Steve, Kimberly, top tier. You two rock. Another happy landing. We're here, episode 3. We've made it 3 in. We tend to film about 5 episodes per one film sesh. Because we just love talking all things Star Wars. So we're going to start with this episode of the show talking about Pablo Hidalgo coming after Star Wars Theory. I watched Star Wars Theory's video about it. I read through the tweets and, you know, I'll pull them up here too again. But at the end of the day, it just sounded like you're being mean to be mean. And that shouldn't exist in our world, let alone in the Star Wars fan base. Because we're never mean, Tanner, in the Star Wars world. We never get divided and hate each other about a film.
I mean,
we've never
me
done
and you
that.
know.
Never.
We don't turn into sweaty nerds just arguing about, you know, fantasy space wars and everything like that. More getting more heated than actually having, you know, like real children that we loved that much.
Yeah. So Star Wars Theory releases a video reacting to the finale of The Mandalorian. Obviously, we're talking all things Star Wars, so there's spoilers. The end of The Mandalorian, bringing in Luke Skywalker, and it made Star Wars Theory very emotional. He got very impacted by this, as I think we all did. I mean, I didn't bust up in massive tears, but I was choked up. My eyes were getting watery. I tend to freak out a little bit more with the like I freak out because I'm just that pumped. And then Pablo Hidalgo tweeted at him and basically said, "Keep your feelings, you know, like you're like a
Keep
baby
your
or
feelings
something."
to yourself.
Yeah. And it opened up. You know, there was that video too of a fan who just, you know, isn't even big on YouTube. Star Wars Series got millions of subscribers. And there was that video that one fan, I believe it was to the Rise of Skywalker trailer or the Last Jedi trailer, but I'm pretty sure it was Rise of Skywalker, of him just bawling with, I believe it was the one where Rey jumps over the TIE fighter and hits it with the lightsaber and just losing it, crying. And fans came after, or not even just fans, but people came after him. And I have no place for this in my my life. I don't like mean people. But what are your thoughts on just Pablo Hidalgo acting like that? Somebody who was involved in Lucasfilm.
No, I completely agree. It honestly, it just feels completely out of line, especially for someone that is in that industry, and also not to mention, I mean, just having that understanding of like how much gravitas, a lot, you know, just telling stories, you know, connected. We get to these things. To that, it almost comes across as almost like this, like toxic masculinity, kind of just, no, you're not allowed to share your feelings, kind of a thing, and it really kind of comes across more as just bullying, more than anything, to be entirely honest. Because I mean, it's let people enjoy the things that they want to enjoy and react the way that they, you know, want to react. As long as they're not out here hurting anybody, then what's the problem?
Yeah,
it doesn't look great of someone on high too, just like punching down as well.
And I don't know, is Pablo Hidalgo still involved in the head of Lucasfilm? I don't know if he is.
So far as I know, he still is involved.
In the creative, right?
Yes. Let me
Because what he did is there was a thread of people making fun of him on Twitter, Star Wars Theory, and Pablo Hidalgo joined in and started liking tweets and then tweeted at him, and then they started deleting things. He's an executive, a creative executive currently working at Lucasfilm on the Star Wars franchise. And I'm just not for that type of behavior.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
Gina Carano apparently joined in and had words.
What did she say? I didn't actually know this one.
She said that if you feel that, then you felt the right thing talking to Star Wars Theory. If you felt that emotion, then that's exactly what we were going for. And I mean, Gina needs all the good publicity in Star Wars she can get. But after the fans came after her. But yeah, I just have no place for that. There's this big divide now, or not big divide. It's now, I think, become a smaller divide of people who still react poorly to nerds and nerd culture deep diving, but then they obsess over Marvel. They go to the big movies. You look at a place like Barstool Sports, which, you know, is kind of the big frat guy mentality. They're promoting Mandalorian. They have that kind of Baby Yoda Grogu merge, and they do all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you're attacking people for no reason. You're doing this because you have your own problems in life, and you decide to take it out on others who are just living their best life. And that's unfair. And, you know, I like Star Wars Theory. I like a lot of his videos. Some of his videos I don't like. You know, I disagree with him, but I would never come after him. No. Heck, I'd love to get him on our tiny little show, get some promotion. But it'd be great to talk Star Wars with him. I mean, he obviously is very knowledgeable. He makes cool videos. There's no reason to attack somebody for what they love. The internet is such an awful thing, and yet such a great thing at lifting us up and giving us a platform to nerd out and meet others who nerd out. But I'm just not here for it. I'm just not here for people. It's not the Jedi way, Tanner, and I don't like it.
Right. I know specifically around the things that happen around this. If I'm not mistaken, I think that he was involved actually. And I'm not trying to stir up any sort of an argument over The Last Jedi. Well, but if he was involved pretty heavily when it came to The Last Jedi, and really liked a lot of the work that he did on that. But Last Jedi ended up being a fairly divisive movie amongst the fan base, and this actually ended up sparking and causing, like, opening up a lot of old wounds about The Last Jedi that, like, initially The Mandalorian really kind of seemed to mend that bridge again, that a lot of Star Wars fans were able to come together and be like, you know, this is really amazing, and this is what I really want out of Star Wars. Meanwhile, to be honest, at least just from my point of view, I guess, from a certain point of view, it kind of comes across as Pablo Hidalgo just attacking Star Wars Theory because Star Wars Theory was not a big fan of The Last Jedi. And, you know, regardless of whether or not they're not a fan of your work, then, I mean, if that ever wound up being true, that just comes across just so petty, so petty.
Yeah,
especially. He was on.
Go ahead.
Oh, that was kind of the roundup of it.
He was story creative executive on Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi, and Solo, before he then just kind of focused more on like Vader Immortal and then Star Wars Resistance. And then since then he doesn't have a credit, so he wasn't involved in Rise of Skywalker. But I mean, I don't know what that means. I don't know. I mean, creative executive is just somebody who comes in and approves or helps out in the creative aspects of what you're making. And I mean, we have our divide here because I love The Last Jedi. You, sir, not so much. But uh,
I'm super. By the way, I'm super excited to actually have that conversation of us breaking down
me too.
The Last Jedi.
So I can win it. But yeah, he just, there's no reason to do that. There's no reason to tweet at somebody. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, look, if you really calm down and reread that, it doesn't sound kind, and you should be kind. You're an executive of a $1 billion company, and you need to be better than that, Pablo Hidalgo. And he was part of Revenge of the Sith. He was a part of some of those older stuff, part of making of a great documentary. He's a decent film head, but I like, imagine if Kathy did that. Like, imagine if Kathy Kennedy is the one tweeting that. There'd be a massive amount of backlash towards her being a woman, towards her being the head of Lucasfilm. She can't do this. Pablo Hidalgo is one of them, and the backlash has not seemed, they just kind of, you know, swept it under the rug as quickly as possible because they just didn't want to deal with it. And it just drives me up a wall. Hopefully Kevin Feige comes in and is like, look, no more. I'm in charge of this one movie. No more.
But you know, it really, it weirdly enough, it did actually, like, initially when this whole story ended up breaking, it did seem to unite, I would say, about 95% of the fan base.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether or not you liked Luke Skywalker coming in or liked The Last Jedi, there was really kind of this moment of like, dude, why are you bashing on someone for having this like great, like this emotional reaction to something that was created?
It's a personal thing. He's got his own issues in life, and he decided to take it out on somebody who seems to be having a good time. And
now, I do want to be clear that I don't. It's not that I don't. I really do like it when you do have executives or top people, no matter what rank, whether it be like the lowliest Star Wars fan or Bob Iger commenting on just things in general. I think that people are people still at the end of the day and should still be able to, you know, converse. I don't want it to be the situation of, you know, just dribble. No, come on. These are still human beings that need to have their own, need to be able to talk as well. But you really just need to, if that was a lowly Star Wars fan as well that was bashing on someone else, then I mean that you still come across just like, you come across terribly.
Yeah.
You know?
I've got a video on this channel of me. I mean, we have two videos. We have the one video of me reacting to the Rise of Skywalker trailer as well, and I lose my absolute mind. Bummer, the movie stunk. But then then following that, right before the movie came out, I released a video of what Star Wars means to me, which we talked a little bit on episode 1 of this show. But I really dove deep into the personal history I have. And if people had come after negatively from me on those videos, then that wouldn't feel good, because it's just not kind. People are enjoying just what they enjoy, and it's time in life that we learn that whatever you like in life, just love it, because the biggest enemy of the world is laziness. It's not loving anything. It's just sitting there hating the world and not doing anything. And the fact that you can get so passionate about something is amazing, and people need more passion in life. So I think that kind of wraps up this story. So let's move on and talk to something you've been bugging me about here, sir.
Heck, yes, because
I'll let you start.
Admiral Thrawn is back in Star Wars, baby, and I am so pumped about it. Oh man! When I lost my mind when they announced, when Ahsoka had I'm completely.
You said, "Where is Admiral Thrawn?" They had like a big moment.
Yes, I completely forget the character. The Magistrate. She had the Magistrate up, held up against her lightsaber, and said, "Where is Admiral Thrawn?" Lost my mind.
Same.
I mean, even when they announced, like, you saw that first trailer from Star Wars Rebels, as they're like, oh, it's this big baddie that's coming through. We don't know what's happening. We're constantly being outsmarted. And then Admiral Thrawn steps out from the shadows. Oh, I lost my mind.
Yeah, it was amazing.
He is hands down the best extended canon character that has come to exist. And I was ecstatic that they brought him back from the executed expanded universe and brought him back into the canon, because he's a character that you just cannot you just cannot pass up. He's amazing.
For Star Wars hard nerds, he's up there with Vader and the Emperor, and bring him into Ahsoka's show is going to give him an opportunity for the rest of the world to sit back and realize that they have another really great iconic villain with Darth Maul as well. But
one of my favorite things about Thrawn is like, we talk about these incredibly powerful Force users being Vader and Palpatine. One of the scariest things about Thrawn is he's not a Force user. That part itself isn't very scary, but the fact that he is stepping in and filling these shoes, at least this is from extended canon, he's stepping in and filling the shoes of Palpatine and doing it successfly. Yeah. I think the best way to describe him is he's almost like the Moriarty to an extent of the Star Wars universe. He's not going to like wildly impress you with any sort of like actual physical combat skills, but he is going to outplan you by about 15 different steps.
Yeah.
And so super stoked to have him back. And there's been a bunch of news coming down as to who might be playing him. And there was some sources. There was two articles that I had read. One was from Epic Stream, and then another one was from We Got This Covered. Normally,
not the best sites.
Not the best sites. They've got a real hit and miss ratio, and sometimes are really looking for those clickbaity headlines. But there was two interesting ones that came through. One was that Admiral Thrawn, that there's an Admiral Thrawn movie actually in the works to coincide with The Mandalorian. It's an idea. Not sure if that's true. I personally think that they're just going to lean into Ahsoka, with Thrawn being the big baddie. The other story was that Lars Mikkelsen might be cast as Thrawn.
Well, wasn't there a rumor as well that Robert Downey Jr. was in talks for Thrawn? Isn't that where the big thing started?
There was talks of, the other thing was that RDJ was being considered for a role. Now, a lot of these sites seem to talk about that he might not play Thrawn now, or the internet ended up jumping on and saying, oh my God, he's going to play Thrawn. I don't think he's going to play Thrawn. I mean, I'm curious as to what your thoughts are. Do you think that RDJ could be a good Thrawn?
I do. He's a wickedly talented actor. He's not the choice you think of off the top of your head, but whenever a name like that pops into my mind, I immediately go back to Ben Affleck being Batman. Because when he was Batman, it was like everybody lost their minds in a negative way. Ben Affleck wasn't the guy we could think of. We can't see him as Batman. And I remember sitting back with Kyle and kind of thinking, Ben Affleck's going to be a good Batman. Like, they're announcing it. They want an older Batman. They want him to do this. And you start seeing all these videos of how ripped he was getting for the role and how violent he was going to be. And to be honest, those two movies I don't like very much. Batman's the best part in those movies to me. And I think he's a very great Batman in bad movies. Yeah. I mean, in BVS, he goes in.
He's a good Batman, bad script.
Yes. So RDJ kind of had that same feel to me, and it'd be cool to see him be a villain. And I think everybody's negative thoughts towards him being Thrawn is like, no, I can't see it, because they've seen him as the wholesome, not really an anti-hero because he's a little quippy, but they just think of Tony Stark. And I think Thrawn, get him in the makeup, would be a great way to get him off of the Tony Stark kind of vibe, giving him a hard villain role. So he would be good. I wouldn't put him in my top 5, which we'll get to our top 5 actors here in a moment, but he would be a good fit, I think. The more I've sat on it, the more I like it.
I think Lars Mikkelsen would also be a good fit as well. I guess personally, when it comes to RDJ, I think you're totally right with, I've kind of got this like typecast almost for RDJ. Now, don't get me wrong, I seeing him in things like what was it, The Road Trip with Zach Galifianakis, or
never seen it.
It was good for the time. It was okay for the time. Then there was also the one that he did with Jamie Foxx. What was it? I think that was The Soloist. And then of course Tropic Thunder, but that was something completely out of left field.
That was also before the MCU, or right around the start of it.
Oh, interesting. For some reason, I thought that it was after the original Iron Man.
It might be, but it's close. I don't think he hasn't really done much since the MCU exploded as much as it did. Because I remember he tried the movie The Judge, and people thought it was an okay movie, and they thought this could be his opportunity to break away. But he basically played Tony Stark again, and it's just because it's his natural self. And I think then he really dove into Marvel because he could realize the story they were telling. So again, I think a villain would be good. And then Sherlock Holmes, he's made 2 of that. People really like his Sherlock Holmes movies, and they're supposed to be making a 3rd. But he'd be an interesting choice. Lars would be great because Lars has already played him. Lars plays him on Rebels. So he would be a good choice because he's obviously got the voice and the menacing presence. And I've only seen him in a couple shows. Like he plays the Russian. He's not Putin, but he plays Putin in basically House of Cards. And he's a talented actor. So he would be great.
I don't know if you've watched the BBC Sherlock series, but doesn't he play?
I haven't.
Gosh darn, no, he's. I thought he played Mycroft in Mycroft Holmes in something. I completely spaced it. It might be something else, but I could have sworn I saw him in a.
He was in The Witcher too. I forgot about that.
That's right. He was in The Witcher.
Yeah.
Man, I'd be down. I'd be down for Lars Mikkelsen. Because he is the guy. Yeah, he is the guy that voiced Admiral Thrawn from.
Yeah, I forgot that, and I looked him up while we were talking, and then saw that was him because I was going to put on my top 5 the actor who plays him because they've done a good job, and I just forgot that it was him. So he would probably be just the perfect choice. If now I've convinced myself, but take him out of it. Top 5 actors we'd like to see. Should we go 5 up or should we go 1 down?
5 up, I would say.
All right. Who do you got at 5?
My number 5. Well, first I want to throw out an honorable mention because not honorable mention, but just interesting choice that I randomly saw on the internet. As a number 1 pick was Ian Glenn from Game of Thrones as Jorah Mormont. I know. I think you were higher on it when we initially just kind of discussed this, but I think it could be done, but I just think there are better choices out there, maybe.
Sure.
But my number 5 is actually Tom Hiddleston.
Oh, Tommy Hiddleston. He'd be a good pick.
He'd be because Tom has a crazy good range, and also considering where Thrawn's been, I think that he could really kind of bring that almost this slight derangement to Thrawn after being gone in the unknown regions for so long. Oh God, it'd be wicked. And also my only concern, and this is why I put him at number 5, is I just really hope that he wouldn't make it too comedic, something like Loki, because Thrawn is very dry. And I think, of course, I think Tom could do that. I just hope that he doesn't get too Loki with it, I guess. Might be the way to do it. Anyways, you're number 5.
I'm actually bouncing off of that. My number 5, I would be happy at my lowest choices here for the 5. Any old men from Game of Thrones, any of the old guys. Honestly, I'd be happy with any of them, like Ian Glenn. Why can't I think of the actor who plays Tywin Lannister? He would be good. Yep, he would be good. Charles Dance, I think, would be a good choice. He's got the voice, and then as well as the brother Baratheon. I can't think of his name.
Stannis Baratheon. I don't know the actor, but
he was great in John Adams. He was great in Game of Thrones. He's a talent. I would take any of them. And I mentioned this to you. Thrawn is over 6 foot, and they kind of talk about in Rebels a bit his height. But Peter Dinklage would be a great Thrawn to me. And it's a bummer that is what would keep him from ever getting a role like that, because they've already established the height of the character. But he would be an absolutely great Thrawn. Like, he would be one of my top choices if that could be mended. And, they could do it, but I doubt they would. But he would be a great choice. So I'm just going to go with any of the old men from Game of Thrones. I'd take any of them in my number 5 spot. But who do you got next?
Number 4. Michael Fassbender. He talk about an actor with range. Fassbender is up there, and we've seen him play everything from the just absolutely tortured Magneto in X-Men First Class, and the new X-Men First Class and Days of Future Past. The other ones I don't really think about much because they're not that great. Then we've also seen, I know a lot of people were down on this movie, but I was actually a decent enough fan of Prometheus when it came out. I thought it was kind of interesting. And with him playing floating around playing the androids, it was it's always just fun to see him on screen.
Yeah.
There is another movie of him playing a villain, like one of his best roles of him playing a villain that I'm totally spacing out right now, though. Of kind of playing that Thrawn, cold, calculated, and he's when he steps into the room, he is the presence in the room. And I don't remember who it was, what movie it was, but anywho, I think he would slay the role.
Funny enough, my number 4 is James McAvoy.
No kidding.
Yeah. I think James would be great. I mean, look at what he does in Split, and then, the not as good Glass. But I mean, range he can have a menacing voice. I watch him. He wasn't in season 2, but he was in season 1, and he'll be in season 3 of his Dark Materials on HBO, which is an adaptation of The Golden Compass, and he's really good. I mean, he is just a class act talent. I mean, he's been around forever. He can put on he can get to the builds you want. If you want him big, if you want him a little bit leaner, he would be a great choice. So I'd be happy with Fassbender too. So I think that's funny we chose those 2 X-Men. But
I didn't even consider putting him on the list, but that's a good one. I like that a lot.
I like him. Who's your 3?
Booberdick Cucumber Patch is my number 3, or Benedict.
Benedict would be an interesting choice.
I think Benny would do really, really well.
Yeah.
Man, between his role that he did, the voice acting that he did as Smaug, and also I know a lot of people are kind of down on this one as well, but Star Trek Into Darkness as Khan, he's such a menacing bad guy when you have him in those roles. And just an all around incredible actor. The only reason I think I place him over Fassbender is Fassbender almost has this most villain roles that I've ever seen him in, he has this like steely feel to him, whereas Benedict, I like that he has that, but when he does take it up to 10, you really kind of feel that fear in the room, and I really dig that. What's your number 3?
My number 3, when I was looking up actors as we were kind of starting the show, an actor popped up that I didn't think of, but I wouldn't mind, would be Daniel Craig. Like I just looked up when we were talking earlier about the show and everything in our top 5, and I was behind on my list. I pulled up, there's like actors who would be great at Admiral Thrawn, and Daniel Craig was one of the names I read through, and he would be interesting because again, he has range that people don't realize, I don't think, because they what? You okay?
I for a second, no, the recording stopped there for a second. Sorry, my bad. Go for it.
Like as we just picture him as Bond, but Bond is kind of that same tone of Thrawn, but just a little more menacing. And he'd be a good choice. He has the range when you watch him in a movie like Knives Out, and his humor he can do. And Thrawn kind of has a funky humor to him, like a sarcastic humor that doesn't work, which makes it funny. So I would put him at 3. He would be my choice to go there. Who's your 2?
Jason Isaacs from most notably Harry Potter. He plays the father of totally forgetting the character's name. He plays the father of little
Draco Malfoy.
Draco Malfoy. There we go. That's what I'm thinking of. But he plays the father of that, and he's also been in the MCU as someone else. And I'm totally trying. But anyways, he really has the facial features of Thrawn, I think, to a T. And again, he really just has that like, I have all of the cards in my hand kind of a feel that I'm looking for with Thrawn. And yeah.
Who's your number 2? I don't see him in the MCU.
Maybe I think I'm confusing him with someone else. For some reason, I thought that he played Ronan from Guardians in the Galaxy, but that's someone completely different.
I think that was Lee Pace.
Oh no, you're right.
My number 2 is kind of an off the beaten path choice, but I would go with Jason Bateman. Jason Bateman went for, like, I liked some of his comedies growing up, but then Kyle and I watched him in a movie, The Gift, that was directed by Joel Edgerton, and that's when I was like, this guy is a talent. And then he came out with arguably one of the best shows on Netflix. And why can't I think of the name of that? This is what happens when you make me get up early for this show. Why can't I think of the name of that? It's going to drive me up a wall. Why can't I think of the name of it?
I should have. Dang it! I should have written more down, Al. I should have written more down.
Ozark. In Ozark, he is awesome. You give him the makeup. I think the voice he would need to work on, but I think he actually has the presence you want, and he can play a calculating, because that's what he does in Ozark. He's a calculating kind of person who's trying to win the day in a way. Right. So he would be my number 2. I think he would be great as Grand Admiral Thrawn. So who do you got? Number one,
which is funny because it ended up being your number 5, is Charles Dance. I would kill to have Charles Dance just step into the role at, like, do a Tywin Lannister Thrawn, like, blend together to create. Oh man, he could play like an older, a little bit more grizzled Thrawn that emerges from the unknown regions. And man, maybe it's just because I'm so enthralled with how what type of villain is. It's very I'm totally forgetting the name. Why? Al, you're making me forget my names.
That's what happens.
He there's a specific Italian mastermind kind of a guy that Tywin Lannister exemplifies in modern cinema. But anywho, he is every single scene that he is in, he literally sucks the air out of the room, and he is the presence in the room. There is no doubt with every single line delivery that he has that he is the person in charge. He may not be the man in name to be in charge, but he is the person pulling all of the screen, all the strings behind the scenes, and not to mention, he has all the power. He has literally every single card that he could possibly have in his hand. Now, I mean, he in specifically with Tywin, he had a couple of few major oversights, considering that he treated his son like an ass. But man, he when he takes it up to 10, it's that exact level of 10 that I'm looking for. It's not over the top like Benedict can get at times. Like when he goes over the top, he goes over the top. Whereas I don't even need him to like modify his voice too much, to be entirely honest, because Charles Dance's voice is just so it carries, and it's incredibly booming, and it's easily my number one.
My number one, I think, is actually the youngest we've had on here, and I am going to butcher the name. I am sorry as of this moment, but I'm going to butcher the name. Yahya Abdul Mateen, I think, would be great. He's my number one choice. I first saw him in The Get Down, and then he played Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen show on HBO, as well as he is, I believe the villain is Manatee in Aquaman, which I don't love Aquaman, and it's not a great movie, but The Get Down I really love. And then he was also in the Trials of the Chicago 7 on Netflix that came out this year that I loved. He is great in Watchmen. He is subtle. Yeah. He is so good. I've already seen him in the blue makeup, so I know it could work. He's a little bit bigger than I think you want Thrawn to be, but I think he's the type who can lean down. And then he's going to be in the Candyman remake, produced by Jordan Peele, and I think he would be a great choice. He's got a really good Black Mirror episode. I think he would be an absolute masterclass choice. He is a bit younger, so we could play him for a good long time, but he is my top choice. When I was really sitting back and thinking about actors, I thought he would be a unique, different choice. He's my number one. I don't know if you've seen any of the shows he's been in or whatnot, or movies.
I haven't, and I just looked him up, and so from some of your recommendations, I'm going to add him to my list of actors that I need to go watch their work, because
you should watch Watchmen. It's amazing. Yes. It is amazing. It might be the best show since Game of Thrones. Like it really might be.
I haven't actually watched that many things on HBO, and was actually thinking about axing my subscription for a hot minute.
Watch this. It's like 8 episodes. It's one season, one and done. Do it quick, and then you can axe. But he's Very nice. Top choice. And when he's in Aquaman just wasn't a good movie. And he is very over the top in it. I don't think that's his fault, because I've seen his subtle work. He looks like he's going to go cuckoo for coconuts in Candyman, and I am pumped for that. That eerie trailer was so good. So I would go with him. But all right.
Excellent.
Should we move on to the next segment of the show?
Heck yes, my guy.
Oh, it was I know what it is. You take it away.
Yes.
Take it
Big
away.
news! Big news in the Star Wars gaming realm, actually. So it was really funny that I was me and Al here. We like to message back and forth, sending good old Star Wars memes and Star Wars news. And I remember we hopped on Xbox, and there was some like Star Wars news that were announced. Well, anyways, everyone was making a big hullabaloo about Lucasfilm's games being was officially announced, and then they threw a sizzle reel of all of the video games that EA has already put out. And I was talking to Al, and I'm like, "This is literally the most boring announcement I've ever watched."
I didn't even watch it. I'm not a gamer that hard, so
it's like, go ahead and watch all of the boring ass games that we've put out over the past, 6 years. Have fun. It just like it was a nothing story when it first came out. I mean, I watched it and I was like, well, that was pointless. But little did I know, right as they announced that, then shortly afterwards, I'd probably say about like a day or two afterwards, Ubisoft comes out and says, yo, we are making a Star Wars open world video game. And your boy got pumped.
What are some of their like big projects, their heavy hitters as a company?
Ubisoft's heavy hitters include Rainbow Six Siege. They also did the Assassin's Creed games and The Division. I don't know if you're familiar with The Division.
Only knew Assassin's Creed, but I'm here for
it. Assassin's Creed has usually been a little hit and miss in my personal book. The first one's kind of fun.
They've done a lot of them.
They have done a lot of them. Do
you want to hear a funny side story real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Our not friend of the show, he's one of the creative minds behind the shows here at Movie Meals, Mr. Kyle. When we first moved in together into a house with a couple buddies, he went to like a yard sale and found like the first 6 Assassin's Creed games on Xbox in like a bundle, little like $10 deal. And he was just starting to get into Xbox, and I'm not really a gamer. And if I'm not really a gamer, that man is definitely not anywhere near close to a gamer. And he showed up and he was like, I just got all these games for the 360. He was talking up how he spent the money. He was like, it's such a good deal. I can't wait. I think he played 3 minutes of the first one. And then those games sat on our shelf for 5 years until he moved. And then he left them. And I believe I have them. I don't even play Assassin's Creed, really. I played through a couple of them way back when. But I think he played 3 minutes and was like, this isn't Madden. And then he went right back to his sports games where he's got comfortability. But we roasted him about it. We were like, you're never going to play. I'm going to play them. You're never going to play one of them. I'm going to play all of them. Never did. Never played them.
Man,
but anyway.
Wasted potential.
So they're done with EA. They're going RPG.
Yes, open world RPG, which it was a combination announcement via Ubisoft and Massive Entertainment. Now, those two are primarily known for doing The Division, Division 1 and 2, which is a bit of a looter shooter, like hop online with your friends. You're going to go around. You're going to wipe out encampments and do like missions to get like better loot and just kind of grind as you go along. I personally thought it was a middling game. However, on the flip side of that, what I'm suspecting is they've brought quite a few people from the newest Assassin's Creed games over to the development of this video game, and it's been developing for quite some time now, and I'm really curious to where like some of the details of this are going to come from. We don't know what time period. We don't know what's kind of a setting, if it's going to be like a Jedi, like Old Republic style setting, where it's like you can be a Jedi, you could be a smuggler, you could be whatever.
I think that's what people have jumped to, is that this is going to be the Old Republic. They're going to recreate a new version of the Old Republic games. It seems like that's what the media and the fan base has kind of jumped to.
I think you're rife with storytelling with that. If I was a betting man, I would think it'd be something closer to like modern day, in between the time periods of A New Hope and Revenge of the Sith. I think that's where they're going to slap that. Yeah. And I've got a lot of feelings about this one because EA announced, let me think. I remember having a ton of excitement around this because they had this massive sizzle reel right around when Force Awakens came out of, we're coming out with all of these open world RPGs. We're coming out with Battlefront. We've got numerous other projects that are in the work at EA. And I was like, you know what? You've had some real shady practices, EA, and I'm not crazy about you, but you know what? I think you've got the money and the know-how to be able to put out some great Star Wars games. And boy, did they fumble that so hard, because they came out with Battlefront, and it was middling success. It was okay. It wasn't no Battlefront 2 from 2008 days. Wait, no. That was even earlier than that.
It was earlier than that, yeah.
I must be thinking of Halo 3. And they came out with middling success with that one. Then they came out with Battlefront 2, which was one of the biggest fiascos in gaming, in the gaming realm.
The first one, right?
No, so the first one was middling success. The second one was one of the biggest fiascos in gaming, because it ended up sparking the controversy of loot boxes. I mean, not saying that the loot box controversy wasn't already there, but this was the one that was inherently just blatantly in your face of like, oh, if you want to be able to unlock Darth Vader, if you want to play Darth Vader, the most popular character in Star Wars, you're going to have to pay, I don't know, anywhere on the upwards of $50 on top of the game just to play him. It's like, yeah, what are you thinking? And it ended up being the most downvoted post on Reddit of all time.
Wow.
And it ended up sparking a whole slew of litigation of governments actually coming in to talk about loot boxes, as if, like, is it gambling? Is it not gambling? How are we going to rule with this? It was the first. It fumbled it so hard that it brought in the government to have a discussion about this. I mean, that's insane. Rightfully so, because there's a weird level that you get when you have children that already have, they're really excited to be able to play this. I mean, I imagine if I was a kid and really wanted to play Star Wars, and all of a sudden I had my parents' credit card just linked to my account and be like, "Ooh, I want to play Darth Vader." Oh
yeah, I'd buy everything.
Right.
Or I'd throw a fit until they bought it, because it's like, or until I
lose the game. Huge fiasco. Eventually they backpedaled on that really hard. And years down the line, I would actually say they came out with a decently competent Battlefront 2. It's decently fun now.
Well, they also, real quick, they throw out games like Vader Immortal. They are doing some cool stuff on VR. And then they go to the, I would say, and I'm not in the gaming community, but their biggest Star Wars game since the new regime would be Fallen Order is next, right?
100%.
Yeah, and Fallen Order's awesome. I love that.
Fallen Order's incredible. It is, to be honest, the year that it was released, it was my favorite Star Wars story in a long time.
Yeah. I'd have my favorite droid. I love BD1.
Oh, dude, little BD1.
It was like Pikachu.
God, I love him. Like,
Somebody in the creative was like, dude, you want to know a way to get people's hearts? A droid that is Pikachu. And that's
right,
what they
right.
did, and it worked. And then they have Squadrons, which I know you talk very highly of, and I know is very big.
It's only recently has EA actually been able to produce some really fun products, being Fallen Order and Star Wars Squadrons. Squadrons doesn't have any loot boxes, nothing of that nature. There's no microtransactions. You can unlock everything in that game just via playing it, and the core of that game is amazing. It's exactly what I've wanted for, like, personally, what I've wanted from a Star Wars game, of just being able to slap me in an X-wing cockpit and go to town. Oh God, I could lambast about that game for, well, not lambast, but just praise that game for days. But big thing about the EA thing. This is the one that I actually became the most tilted at EA with the Star Wars license. Was they canceled 3 open world games that were under their belt. One was Star Wars 1313, which was going to explore the underground depths of Coruscant as we played a bounty hunter. The other one was supposed to be like an Uncharted action adventure game throughout the Star Wars universe, as you're basically running around as like the Indiana Jones of the Star Wars universe. And they axed both of them for no apparent, like, the reasoning that they had come out with at that point in time was single player games don't sell.
You wonder, though, maybe that's Kathy Kennedy coming in and saying, look, I'm the head of this whole thing. They're not selling. Our data says that. And they're like, no, this will work. And they're like, nope, it's canceled. You never know who is really behind those big wig decisions. Maybe it was big Bobby Iger, or maybe it was new Bob.
I'd be willing to place my money still on EA making that decision. But there's might be some validity there. It's the dumbest thing, though, when that statement's thrown out there. Meanwhile, Star Wars Fallen Order is a single player game that winds up being one of the best Star Wars selling properties of all time. I mean, the proof's in the pudding right there. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you're not gonna make oodles and oodles of money off of it, because you're gonna be nickeling and diming people for every single cent that they have just to get a new Vader skin. But it's an incredible game that you moved a ton of copies for. So anyways, to round this story up, I am so excited that we have a new Star Wars project coming in. Lucasfilm Games has been announced, and they're going to be bringing so many other companies under the umbrella of Star Wars and the license of Star Wars to create all kinds of games in the Star Wars universe. And I don't know if you ever played this game way back when, but one of my favorite ones was Star Wars Empire at War. It was this like
played it a bit.
top down, like control an entire army. You choose Empire, Rebellion, and there's like the massive capital ship space battles with like massive squadrons of starfighters that are duking it out, or you could come up with an entire like army of AT-ATs that are storming Hoth. Oh gosh, it was so much fun.
What excites me as a non-fan, a non-gamer, hard gamer, is I look at games that, I'm not a huge RPG open world guy, never have been. I played through quite a bit of the first Red Dead Redemption, but like all these big open world games you guys talk about, like The Witcher, Grand Theft Auto, I only played at a base level. I'll play a Star Wars one all day long. And it just was never the thing for me to do, which is weird because I love that type of storytelling. But what excites me is like we play so much Warzone together. I would love Warzone just Star Wars over. Make them X-Wings or different things for the helicopters and the speeders and whatnot. Make it where you know, you can have any skin you want, but you start with grabbing blasters and different type. And if you're lucky, you might get a lightsaber or something. You know what I mean? Like that would be cool. Dropping an open world game in between 3 and 4 and making it where, you know, Fallen Order is, but making it where you get more choices would be cool if you were a Jedi on the run. And then you would get the opportunity to maybe go, no, I'm going to become an Inquisitor under Vader, or I'm going to really hide out, or I'm going to attack the Empire. Like all those different choices would be really cool. And I hope we get more mature games as well with this. Like I think of games like Force Unleashed that I would love to see kind of that style where it's a little bit harder. And obviously they made that a little more kid friendly for the time. But like I think of those type of games and more squadron type games that I would love to play through. But yeah, I'm excited for that. Real quick, I think we should transition to the books because I forgot I have to film another show with Kyle after this before we do our other thing at 11 or 10 your time. So let's touch on the books real quickly. And that you had a couple questions for me, and then we were going to talk about how we were about to read High Republic. So let's start with your questions about me because I'm rereading and I'm almost finished Ahsoka.
Yes, I had a couple quick questions on on that one, and I've been curious as to the time period of this is taking place after the events of the Siege of Mandalore, correct?
Yes, it's 1 year after the fall of everything. So episode 3.
Okay.
It is a little over a year, and she drops a line about it in the book.
Okay. Interesting. What I'm curious, one of the things that I'm actually rather curious about, considering that they did the Siege of Mandalore after they did this book, is there any sort of like conflicting canon that's popping up in there at all? No?
Nope,
really?
Not that I'm aware of. Honestly, knowing Dave Filoni, he probably read the book. He's read it 8 times. It is a small story about what happens to her after a year and a half later while she's trying to hide out. It's just a small story about hiding. Empire's taken over. They show up. Do I have to reveal myself or not? That basic kind of story. It's a fun book. I read it the first time, and then this time I'm doing Audible because it's just easier for me. But and it is voiced by Ashley, who voices Ahsoka in the shows, outside of Rosario Dawson. So and she does a really good job. It's not a whole lot of characters. She isn't trying to be kind of all these different people, but she does a good job. And it's a good book. It is a fun book. If you're a fan of Ahsoka, I recommend reading it because it's just a fun little easy read. It is not taking me long to get through it on here. For the book. Did you have another question on it or anything?
Yeah, I've honestly, the other one was just in general, like how have you been enjoying it? Do you feel like that it adds a lot to it, or is it just kind of more of a it was a good read?
I mean, I don't read a lot. So when I don't know what makes a great novel. I enjoy good stories, and I like the story. I like the story. I don't know what is a well-written book and what is a bad written book. I like stories, and it's a fun story. So if you like Ahsoka, I think you'd like this book. Any hard Star Wars fan would enjoy the book. It's been out for quite a while. I think it came out like 2016. It's been out for a while. And I just the love for Ahsoka with Mandalorian made me want to reread it. But yeah. So then when I started reading this, talking to Tanner, High Republic, the first novel, came out this month, and I keep seeing people are adoring it, and they love the story that it tells. And like I just said, I'm a story guy, so I said to Tanner the other day, I'm gonna kind of rush through and finish Ahsoka, which I should be done by middle of this upcoming week, if not sooner. And then I was gonna get it on Audible, and Tanner's like, "Why don't we read it at the same time and we can do a full-on review here on the show and really talk about it?" And I was like, heck yeah, my guy. So we're going to start the High Republic novel.
Heck yes.
All I know is on the cover. You go ahead, sir.
Oh,
you go ahead.
we're gonna try to read it at roughly the same time. I don't know if we've come to a decision quite yet as to if we just read the whole thing, then we do an entire book review of it, or if we like chunk it out into different sections as we review it.
Yeah, that'll be decided on future episodes, I think, as we debate it. Think about it. I want a Wookiee with a lightsaber. He's on the cover. I want to know who that is, how he's related to Chewie, because he probably is. And I want to know. I want to know more. I'm excited for the height of the Jedi. You know, we talked about Acolyte and the High Republic show they're going to be doing on Disney Plus that they just revealed at Investors Day, and this just gets me pumped. I doubt they're connected, but it'll be fun to read through them because all three of the books are coming out quickly, and to read through them and then to theorize and be like, no, I do want, you know, Chewie's cousin to be the lead in a new show. Like, I want it. Like, it'll be fun to do that. So we're gonna read through those books, and hopefully try to do it decently quickly. But I'm excited
because there's three. I haven't done the research on this one, but you said that there were three novels.
I believe so.
Okay. I'll do a little bit of digging, but so if there's three novels and you said that they're going to be released in quick succession coming out here, you said this February was when the third one came out, correct?
I believe so, but it looks like, let's see here. It looks like the second one is already out.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll have to look more into it.
We might have to do some speed reading then.
Star Wars High Republic, which was previously referred to as Project Luminous, is about 200 years before the events of A Phantom Menace. That is the main one. And then the first book and comics are set to debut in August 2020 at Star Wars Celebration, which was canceled. So they're just now releasing. And one of them is by Claudia Gray, who I mentioned to you last night, wrote Lost Stars, which is currently my favorite book. I think she's an absolutely great writer. I still don't know what makes a great writer, but
you enjoy the story. That's the important part.
I do. She told a great story. We'll have to look more into the order here because maybe you and I are behind. I don't know. We'll find out. So we're going to do that for the two of you here, my mother and someone else. But we'll focus on that and we'll touch on it more, I think, next episode. So for that, excellent. I think we are done here. Another happy landing. Thank you.
How did we wind up here? We're smarter than this.
We are smarter than this. Thank you again to our patrons for Movie Meals. Names on the screen. You guys rock. Get some merch. Like, subscribe, share. Another happy landing. May the force be with you.
See you in this galaxy, Space Cowboy.